Welcome to Radiant Resilience. This is the yoga, wall yoga class. And before we start, there are a few things that you're going to want to gather. One, if you have a block or two, you could have those available. If you don't have them, everything we do, you can do without. If you need a little something to pad your knees, I use a garden pad because it's really easy to kind of maneuver under the knee and move it away when I don't want to use it. And you'll also want to have a strap or a belt. And if you want to kind of get pre ready, you'll want to place the strap in a loop, but still have enough length that you can do other things with it. And that will just save you some time towards the end of class. And then the final thing that you might want to have handy is a blanket, or a towel. So I have this folded up so that it ends up having some height to it, but it's still flat. So if you think of it being kind of like a tube that's been flattened out, and you want to have enough width as well. So those are the things that you'll want to gather. And as you're getting those gathered, just kind of set them off to the side. You're not going to need them right away. Just a reminder that everything we do is optional. So if something doesn't feel right in your body, feel free to skip it or to change it or shift it up a little bit so that you're keeping yourself safe. All right, so we are going to start. We're going to be away from the wall to start, head towards the wall for right now. As you lie down, coming into your constructive rest pose with soles of the feet on the floor, knees bent, arms comfortably away from your sides, turning palms up. And right away, let's start out with two big sighs. On your first sigh, let your low back and your belly relax. And then let the shoulders melt towards the floor as well. After that, you might notice that you want to do some shifting, arms a little higher or lower so that your shoulders feel comfortable, and keep the back of the neck nice and long. And then we're going to tune into the breath. And since you're lying down, just really let your belly soften and allow it to rise and fall as you breathe. And you can keep the arms as is, or you might even choose to place one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly. This is a kind of a signal, having some contact here, signals our nervous system to downregulate. And then as you're breathing in, feel expansion underneath both hands. Feel the rib cage expand to the side. And as you breathe out, slowly let the breath go. We're just going to move through a few more of these nice, slow, deep breaths. You might even release the arms now. And after you've completed this next exhale, move through one more sigh. All right. And then we're going to slide the arms up to a T position. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, let the knees drop over to one side. Turn your head in the opposite direction. Inhale, center. Exhale to your other side. You're just going to continue moving through these side to side twists in time with your breath. Part of why I start most of my classes in a very similar way with some variation is because this becomes sort of an automatic response. We come onto our mat and we start to move into these movements, and our body knows that it's time to relax, to let everything drop away. And then stop on one side and move through a sigh. And then inhale up through the middle. Exhale, coming into your other side, and sigh again. And then coming back into center. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, give your knees a hug. And you can either rock the legs side to side, or you might choose to circle knees in the same direction. If it's more comfortable, you can cross ankles. If you have crossed ankles, switch it and then circle the other way if you're circling. Okay, and then as you come back into the center, open knees apart, circle them around and bring them back together. Getting into the hip joint, and then go the other direction. As the knees come back into center, separate the knees, soles of the feet come together, and then slide the hands down just as far as you can while keeping tailbone long, neck and shoulders relaxed. And then you might give your feet a little pull towards your face. You can stay in this position, or you can separate feet into more of a happy baby. If it feels good, you might choose to rock. If you're rocking, come center, take a breath in, sigh it out, and then give your knees another hug. Okay, so from here, we have our head at the wall. I want you to stretch your arms up until you can feel the wall with your hands. And I'm a little too far away, so what you want to be able to do is mostly straighten the arms while you're able to strongly push into the wall. So if you see, when I push into the wall, my body actually shifts away because I'm close enough that that's what happens. So once you have that position, we're going to bring the legs up towards the ceiling and hands behind the thighs, flex your feet, bend and straighten the legs, sitting into our hammies. We'll be pressing into the wall in just a second. I just wanted you to get your placement there. And then as you lengthen legs back up, you might reach arms up towards the ceiling as well, and then point and flex feet. If you're reaching up with the arms, you can move through your wrists, palms up, palms down. Rotate your ankles and wrists. And rotate the opposite way. Flex your feet, spread out the toes, give your hands a little shake. And now we're going to stretch the arms up, find the wall, push into the wall as you push up through your heels. So basically, we're in a downward dog, but we're facing upward. So you're just going to press there, really push into the wall. And then go ahead and bend your knees. Keep pressing into the wall. Push your low back into the floor. Knees directly over your hips, and your shins are at a tabletop. So you want to be close enough to the wall so that when you're pressing, you're getting that pressure. Keep the low back down, and then we're going to do some leg dips. So instead of bending the knees more, I want you to keep the knees at this angle and move the leg as one unit from the hip as you drop one foot down and lift it up and switch to the other side. Navel is in towards the spine. Sometimes when we're doing these core things, the tendency is to want to kind of push out with your belly, like doming the belly, but instead keep the navel drawn in. Okay, we're just going to do one more on each leg. Good. And as you release, give your knees another hug, rock side to side. And coming center, keep your right knee into your chest. You can set the left foot down or lengthen out your left leg and move through a side. And then bring left knee up to the chest, right foot on the floor, right leg goes long, and sigh again. Stretch both legs out on the floor, arms move up over your head again. And then on your inhale, push into that wall again as you reach out through your legs, flex your feet, and then exhale, relax. Inhale, push again. This time, point your toes. And release. And do one more. You choose which one felt the best. Flexed or pointed feet. And relax. Walking the feet back to the floor. Breathe in, and on your exhale, knees coming back to your chest. Do another little rocking side to side. And then we're going to roll to the side to bring ourselves up. As we come up, we're going to go right up into table with your feet towards the wall. And this is where sometimes you might want to get a little padding for your knees. Once you go into your table position, we're going to go right into cat-cows. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, round your back, and inhale. And keep going. Let's go one more. And then as you come to neutral, we're going to stretch the right leg out. So same concept as when we were on our backs and pushing our hands into the floor. You want to be the right distance away from the wall so that you can push the foot into the floor or into the wall and have your leg pretty straight. So once you've done that, reach the opposite arm forward. Different feeling than when we have that leg floating in space. Just breathe. It just engages things a little differently here. If you tend to feel wobbly in this position, you might feel a little more stable. Let's breathe. And then come back. Take a sigh. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. Lengthen the leg out. Plant the foot into the wall so that you're able to have some pressure pushing into the wall. Opposite arm stretches forward. Breathe here. Just notice the differences. My legs like to turn out, and this keeps my legs in more neutral, knee pointing straight down to the floor. And I can really feel my glutes working in a different way here. You might notice some things like that as well in your body. And then come back to table. Let's wag hips side to side. And then we're going to go into our puppy pose, walking hands forward. You can have hands wide or narrow, depending on how your shoulders feel. As you drop your forehead down, lift your outside edges of shoulder blades up, melting your heart with each breath. Maybe working to the fingertips with the palms lifted. And then go ahead and ease your way back into child's pose that feels the most comfortable for you. You might rock here. If your forehead doesn't touch the floor naturally, you could place hands underneath your forehead, or you could use your block under your forehead. That just would allow your head to be supported so the neck can soften some. And if you are rocking, make your way center and side. All right. From there, we're going to come back up to table. Sorry, the hair in my eye. And then we're going to scooch all the way back to come into a down dog. But so you want your toes to tuck under and your feet to be moving up the wall. And then press up. So your heels are going up the wall, toes are tucked under on the floor. And just notice with the heels lifted, it takes things out of your hamstrings a little bit. So you might feel that you can get a little more length out of your spine. Sits the bones reaching up And then keeping the heels going up the wall, we're just going to bend and straighten the legs a few times. Good. And then once you lengthen the legs out this next time, take a breath in, sigh it out. And then come on back to table, and we're going to roll our way up. I'm just going to check something really quick. So you're probably going to want to keep the knee pad if you're using a knee pad. We're going to come to face the side. So our shoulder will be at the wall. And if you're using a knee pad, you'll want it under, well, we can just go across. So it's under both knees. But once you come there, we're going to step the leg that's away from the wall forward. Yeah, so we're coming in kind of a half lunge. Before we even bring the hips forward at all, you want to drop your tailbone, scoop your navel in and up, and then maintaining that as you come forward. So you'll notice if you keep that engagement in the core, when you go forward, you might feel a deeper stretch through the front of the hip that's near the wall. And you might not be able to go forward quite as far. All right, so from there, we're going to bring the hands behind the head. And then we're going to open that outside elbow back and then come neutral. Now you're going to slide the elbow on the wall up and around to face the wall. So you're pivoting towards the wall and then you're pivoting away from the wall. If this is too much in the hips, just back up so that the hips are over the knee. We'll do that 2 more times. Sweep up and over so you're facing wall. Sweep up and away. 1 more time, up and over towards the wall. Up and over, away from the wall. Good. And then come center. From there, we're going to bring the hand to the front leg and sweep the other arm up for a little stability as we relax into that halfway or half lunge. Take a breath in, let it go, and then press back. So while we're still facing the same direction, come back to table, and we're going to go further out away from the wall so that the leg that's closest to the wall extends towards the wall. So what you're trying to work on is getting the outer edge of that foot right at the very base of the wall in that little crevice. Now, check in with how your hip is feeling. You might need to bring the foot more forward or more back to find that spot that you're feeling a stretch, but it feels okay in your hip too. If you need to bring a little bend into the knee, go ahead and do that. And we're just going to lengthen the sits bones back and let your inside hip drop towards the floor a little bit. Just let it sink. You're not forcing it. And really push the outer edge of the foot down into that corner where the wall and the floor meet. And just breathe right there. Okay, and then staying on the knee, we're going to come all the way up. Push your inside hand into the wall. Actually, before we do that, sorry, we're going to come a little further away from the wall. So now you can turn that leg out with the knee pointing up, and you're kind of trying to flatten the foot towards the floor. And then we're going to lean into the wall. You'll start to feel a little stretch through that outer part of the torso. Take your other arm up and over, or up towards the sky first. If you want more intensity now, you can start to reach that arm towards the wall. So it's a version of gate pose. Good. And then come on back up. Let's roll the shoulders. And then we're going to go to the other side. So I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to turn my back to you. Otherwise, I would have to like move cameras and all that stuff. So first, we're going to start with the leg extended to the side. Inside edge of the, or outside edge of the foot is pushing down into the floor. And you can shift your leg forward or back, bring a little bend into it, and then lengthen the sits bones back. And that inside hip is gently dropping towards the floor. Little bend in the knee if that's needed. Breathe. Good. And then from there, we're going to come up. Oh, I forgot our lunge. Okay, we'll do this and then we'll come back to our lunge. So we're going to go just a little further away from the wall so that when we come up, we can extend the foot and the knee can point up. From there, you're going to push into the wall with that inside arm and then come up, reach up towards the sky first. And then if you feel like you can take it deeper, start to reach towards the wall with your top arm. All right, and then go ahead and come up. Let's roll the shoulders. And then while we're doing that, now we're gonna come in closer to the wall to do that lunge so that we even everything out. So come onto the knees first, and then the leg that's further away from the wall steps forward. Tailbone drops, navel moves in and up, and then you might let the hips come forward a little bit. Okay, from there, hands come to the back of your head, and then you're gonna open the chest out to the center of the room, and then let that elbow that's touching the wall sweep up, and then turn the chest towards the wall. And you can always move further or closer away from the wall as you're doing this to find what works for you with this rotation. And we'll go one more each direction. And then last time, turning out from the wall, take a breath in and out. And then bring same hand to the front leg and stretch the other arm up the wall as you relax into the glutes and the hips a little bit and come forward even more. Breathe right there. And then go ahead, whoa, and push back. All right, from there, we're gonna face back to the center of the room and just ease yourself back into another child's pose and move through a nice big sigh. Okay, rolling our way up. We're gonna work our way to standing, toes tuck under. Keep your feet about shoulder width or a tiny bit wider, and then ease yourself into either a hanging ragdoll, or you can do elbows or hands on thighs, keeping your spine straight and just allowing your head to hang. Either way, you can do a little swinging if that's comfortable for you. And then come back to center, ease hands to thighs, move shoulders away from your ears, and try to press or point the crown of your head towards the floor. As you shake your head, no. And then nod yes. Let the head hang, take a big breath in, and as you exhale, push your hands into the thighs to press up halfway with a flat back. Take another breath in, and as you exhale, really bend your knees, tuck your tailbone, and then roll your way up. Shoulders going up, back, and down. Inhale, arms coming up. And then exhale, bring hands to heart, and move through a sigh here. All right, and then go ahead and release. Give your legs a little shake. And now we're going to use one of the blocks. So you're going to take your block. Now, if you don't have a block, you can do this with your foot up against the wall. The block just gives you a little more support. So we're going to take our block and we're going to bring it so that it's propped up against the wall at an angle like this. And then what you're going to do is put the ball of the foot on the block, heel is on the floor. You're going to have your other leg step back so you have some leverage there, and then push your hips forward towards the wall to really give your calf and Achilles a good stretch here. Now, if you don't have a block, you can do the same thing, foot up against the wall. It's just not as satisfying of a stretch as when you have the support of that block. And you're just going to make sure that you're only pushing into a level of intensity that works for you. We're just going to breathe right here. Good. And then go ahead and step out. Oops, I have to reprop my block. And then we'll do the same thing on the other side. So your back foot will be a little further back. Ball of the foot is up on the block, heel is on the floor, and then shift your hips towards the wall. Notice if your arch wants to drop down. Sometimes that's kind of a compensation pattern where we drop the arch to try to get a little closer to the wall with the hips, but try to keep the arch lifted so that you're not collapsing there. It might mean you don't go quite as forward with your hips, but it'll be better for your foot health in the long run. Okay, we'll take just one more breath right here. Good. And then go ahead and release. Okay, so now you can take the block and you can just keep it close to the wall. We're going to lean up against the wall. We're going to engage our core and our hip flexors here. So you're going to have your back to the wall. This is just for stability. You're just barely grazing the wall. You're not totally leaning into the wall, but you have just a little bit of just where you're barely touching. And then we're going to bring one leg up. Keep the foot relaxed. And notice that if you bring the leg up so high that you start to bend your knee or tuck your tailbone, you went too high with the leg. So you want to really plant the standing foot down as you grow taller through the top of the head, and then just lift the knee to the height that you can maintain all of that. We're just going to hold this here. We're also really targeting our psoas muscle. As I've mentioned in past classes, the psoas muscle is the only pair of muscles that connects the spine down to the legs. Okay, take a big breath in, and as you exhale, slowly let that foot come down. And then we're going to go to the other side. So really anchor your standing foot down, lift up really tall, and then lift the knee up just to that height that you can do, keeping the foot relaxed, which is different than sometimes when we do a stork pose. So our psoas muscles are the first muscle to contract to get us prepared for fight, flight, or freeze when we have a stress response. And it's also a stabilizer muscle. So we want it to be able to contract when we need it to, but we also want it to be able to soften, because if we're going through our day all stressed out, it's constantly in a state of contraction. So we're contracting it right now, but we're going to release it in just a second. And then go ahead and release. And we're going to go to the first side. So as we go to the second round of this, when your things are a little more fatigued, you might notice that you have some shaking or just feeling like it's a little less stable. And that just gives you information about your body. Sometimes one side will feel really rock solid, and sometimes at the other side will feel shaky. So that just gives you information that one side's a little stronger. Take a breath in, and as you exhale, slowly release down. And then we'll go to the other side, standing up really tall. Make sure you're still breathing. Take another breath in, and then slowly release it down. So then from there, give the legs a little shake, and then we're going to bring our side to the wall again, where we can have one hand on the wall. And then you're going to step on to the block with your inside foot, the foot's closest to the wall. Now, you just like we were when we were standing in that previous position, you want to really push down into your standing leg and lengthen out through the top of your head, but then let the hanging leg be as relaxed as possible. And you're just going to swing it front to back, or you could even do some little half circles. So we're releasing that psoas muscle. We're also releasing into our QL muscle, which is a big side bending muscle at our waist, as well as even down into the side glutes. And then give that leg a little shake. And then just let it hang as heavy as you can, as relaxed as you can. You can let that hip even drop down towards the floor a bit. So if you've ever looked in the mirror and you see that one hip bone is higher than the other, this is a nice way to release things, to try to even things out. Okay, and then we'll relax, shake out your standing leg. It was doing a lot of work for you. And now we're going to turn to the other side, stepping up with your inside foot. really anchoring down with the inside foot, growing tall through the top of your head. And then the hanging leg is just gonna be heavy and soft. You can swing it forward and back, or you can go kind of in these semicircles. Feel free to explore. And then as the leg hangs, just give it a little shake. And then let it just be really heavy. You might feel that hip dropping down towards the floor a little bit. It keeps pushing up tall through the crown of your head. And then go ahead and step off. Give your standing leg a little shake. Okay, so set the block out of your way. And then we're gonna face the wall to do some push-ups. So this is if push-ups are not your thing, this is a great way, and it's also kind of a plank position, a great way to build the strength to build up to a more traditional push-up. So what we're gonna do is you're gonna step your feet away to what's comfortable. So we stretched out the calf, so you might be able to keep your heels on the floor, but if you need to come up onto the toes, that's fine too. Do which one feels the most comfortable. You're gonna have your hands lower than the shoulders, but higher than your waist, or maybe just a little bit lower than shoulders. Fingers pointing up, and your hands are about shoulder width apart. And then bend your elbows straight down towards the floor, keeping them squeezed in towards your ribs, and then straighten. So the farther you walk your feet away from the wall, the more challenging it is. So if this is feeling like too much, you can walk your feet a little closer to the wall. Exhale as you lower, inhale as you press. Okay, let's just do a few more here. Last one. All right, let's give the hands a little shake. Now we're gonna turn to the side again and come onto our forearm, and then step away into a side plank on our elbow. A little easier on the wrist. You can adjust the position of your forearm to work for your shoulder. Make sure your shoulder's happy. And you want to not be pushing the hip out into the center of the room or dipping it in towards the wall. You want to try to stay in that nice straight line, and then bring the other arm out. Breathe in. As you exhale, thread the arm through. Inhale, open it out. So this is another way of getting that strength in a position that might be a little softer. Also, side planks are a really good thing to work on if you know you have any sort of a lateral curve in your spine, if you've ever been told you have a scoliotic curve. Side angle poses are super good for that. And also just good for our core strength in general. And then we'll just pause, open. Let's take that top arm up by the side of the head, maybe even graze the wall with the arm. Take a breath in and out, and then bring the arm down and step in. Let's give that shoulder a little roll. Shake out the arm, and then we're going to turn to the other side. So coming onto the elbow, stepping away from the wall to an angle that's going to work for you, and you can shift where the forearm is positioned so that your shoulder feels happy. From there, the arm closest to the inside of the room is going to reach out. Breathe in. As you exhale, thread it down. Inhale, open the chest, and keep going. And on that rotation in the spine while we're strengthening everything, we're going to go one more. Thread the arm down, bring it out, and then you might take that arm up and over, maybe just graze the fingertips to the wall. Breathe right here. And then release, step in and release. Let's just do a few shoulder rolls right here. If you started to feel any tension in the neck, let's do a big shrug. Breathe in and exhale, soften. One more time, inhale, shrug. Exhale, soften, and then bring your chin down to your chest and thigh. And then take a few little head rolls. Okay. And as you go to one side, stay to that side and do some really small head nods. Stop for a sigh. And then go forward and to your other shoulder, head nods on this side. And stop and sigh. All right, and then come up. So now we're gonna face the wall again. So we're gonna bring the hands further lower on the wall, and then we're gonna step back. So what I want us to do is kind of find that plank position again, and then step 1 foot forward. You're gonna angle, well, first let's just keep that both feet pointing straight ahead and just really give yourself a moment to push into that back heel. And then lift the heel up, turn your back toes out slightly. So now we're working our way into that warrior one position. You're trying to keep your hips pointing straight towards the wall. If you need to widen your feet to allow that to happen more comfortably, you can. And if this is too big of a stance, you could bring your back foot in a little bit. But we're just going to push into the wall to give us some leverage here to stretch through the back leg. And then that back leg, I want you to really start to feel your glutes engage. If your brain isn't finding your glutes, sometimes we get that glute amnesia where the brain doesn't know how to turn your glutes on. You can give them a little poke to help your brain figure out where it's supposed to engage. And then what we're going to do is walk the hands up and melt the heart forward. And just breathe right here. You can go wider with your hands if that feels better on your shoulders. You can come a little closer to the wall if you want to be able to let your forehead rest on the wall. So your front toes would be just barely touching the base of the wall. Breathe here. Good. And then bring your chest up. Reach same arm as back leg up towards the sky. And then maybe stretch the other arm up too. Bring hands back to the wall. And then we're going to step the front leg back. Both toes pointing forward, and then step your other foot forward. So we're switching sides. Start with both feet pointing straight ahead and push into the wall to really give your back leg a stretch. And now lift your back heel, turn toes out, push the heel back down. Okay, from here, we're gonna walk the hands back up, let your heart melt forward. So if you need to adjust, getting a little closer to the wall so your forehead can rest, go ahead and do that. And adjust your arms so it works for your shoulders, letting your heart melt, just like you would in puppy pose. Breathe here. And then slide your hands down, push into the wall to bring your chest up. Make sure those back glutes are working. And then bring same arm as back leg up. Both arms come up and breathe. Hands coming back to the wall. Stepping both feet back again. Now we're going to come into a down dog at the wall. So you're going to push your hands into the wall to push your hips back. You're trying to get your back straight, ankles underneath hips. So you might have to adjust walking your feet forward a little bit. If your hamstrings are a little tighter and you find that you're rounding your back, then you can just adjust your hands up a little higher so that when you push your hands into the wall, you can really get a straight spine. So you don't want to feel like you're arching into your back. You want like the feeling is when you're in table. Push into the wall with your hands. Breathe right here. Now keep your right leg straight and bend your left knee. And then switch. Go back to your first side, right leg straight, bend the left knee, and now push your hips to the right and come more toward the outer edge of your right foot. And then switch. Push your hips to the left and move into the outer edge of your left foot a little bit. And then come back to center, find your table position, and now shift your weight into your right foot. Keep pushing into the wall nice and firm. And you're going to slide your left foot back behind you, lifting the leg, toes pointing straight down. Breathe here. Ease the foot down. And we're going to switch to the other side. Toes and knee pointing straight down of that lifted leg. And then back to both feet. Bend your knees and step forward. Once you've stepped forward, step away from the wall enough so that you can move into some easy swinging twists. Let your heel lift as you go into those twists. Okay, good. All right, from there, we're going to stay, excuse me, facing the our side to the wall. And we're going to step into a wide stance. And while you're here, let me think here. Let's bring the foot that's next to the wall right up to that edge again, like we did when we were on our knees. So you're in this wide stance here, and then turn the toes that are in the center of the room out. And we're going to bend the knee coming into our warrior two like this. So you're going to bend the knee and then lengthen out the arms, push out through the heels of the hands, and push into the wall strongly with that hand that's at the wall. And just breathe right there. So oftentimes when we come into warrior two, we tend to kind of lean towards that bent leg. This helps you get that feeling of being more upright, stacking shoulders directly over your hips. Breathe there. Take a few breaths. Good. And then go ahead and straighten. Now we're going to turn both toes forward, and let's just heel toe a little further out away from the wall. And then the foot closest to the wall is going to turn out towards, so the toes point towards the wall. From there, you're going to bend the knee, finding your warrior two again, and then lean into the wall. So now we get to lean into the wall and bring the other arm up and over. So a version of side angle pose where you have some support from the wall. Take your top arm, keep it rolled open. And then come back. From there, keep pushing into the wall with your hand as you straighten that inside leg, push the ball of the foot into the floor. If you want a deeper stretch, you can always work your way further away from the wall and then turn those toes towards the wall. So you're going to push into the wall. So now we're working on getting that length along the side of the body that's closest to the wall, kind of in a triangle position. And then we're going to take that top arm up towards the sky. Drop your shoulders away from your ears. Breathe. And then you might take that top arm up and over one more time. Good. Bend the knee. Ease yourself up. And release. Toast forward. Let's do a shoulder roll. All right, so we're going to do that same little sequence to the other side. We're going to turn around. Come into your wide stance with the inside foot nestled up against the base of the wall. And then turn the toes towards the inside of the room out. Bend the knee. And then we're going to push into the wall here with our hand and really feel that outer edge of the foot nestling into where the wall and the floor meet. Breathe here. And just feel that strength that we've got going on there. And then go ahead and release. Toes turn forward. Now we might move a little further away from the wall. And then turn the inside toes towards the wall. Bend the knee. Push into the wall here. If you want a deeper stretch, you can move further out from the wall before you come into this. And then stretch the top arm up and over. A different version of side angle pose. Breathe. And then come back up. Now we're going to straighten the leg, and if you want a deeper stretch, you can go further away from the wall, or you can move in closer to soften this. I'm going to push the hand into the wall to really lengthen through the side of the waist that's closest to the wall. Outside arm reaches up towards the sky, and push the ball of your inside foot into the floor, and then you might take that top arm up and over. And breathe here. Good. Look down, bend the knee, bring your arm up and out, and then release. Roll the shoulders and heel toe your feet back in. Give your legs a shake. Okay, so one more thing I want us to do here in sort of these bigger standing poses is our half moon pose. So I really love half moon at the wall. And you're going to take your block, if you have a block, and kind of place it at its high edge. If you don't, you could even use the seat of a chair. Okay, so then we're gonna come into a wide stance with our back to the wall. And then we're gonna turn the toes that are closest to your block to point towards the block. From there, and we don't have to be super wide here, narrower than what you would do for a warrior two. And then you're gonna bend that knee, other hand can come to the hip. As you find your block, or the floor if you're able to do that, or even the seat of a chair, and we're gonna push off. So your glutes are kind of what's grazing the wall here, just to give you some stability. And you're gonna let your bottom hand be pretty much right up against the wall, directly underneath your shoulders. So if you notice, the hand is closer to the wall than your standing foot. And then what I want you to really focus on here is your standing knee. What tends to happen, your kneecap. What tends to happen is when we're trying to really open that top hip, when we go past what our natural range is, our kneecap will start to turn in towards the big toe. And if you've ever experienced knee pain after a half moon pose, that's probably what's going on. So what you want to do is externally rotate that thigh so that your kneecap is always pointing down the center line of your foot to those middle, the second and third toe. And then maintain that in the standing leg, and then just open the top hip to where you can keep that knee alignment with your standing foot, with your standing leg. And then flex your top foot, pointing the toes straight into the center of the room, and then take the top arm up. And you can start to work that top shoulder back up against the wall too. You should feel like you have a lot of muscle energy happening in that standing leg to keep your knee in alignment. And breathe right here. Just think of expanding through all of your limbs. And then look down, bend your standing leg, and step out. Whew. Give our legs a little shake. Okay, we're gonna do the other side. You're gonna move your block to the other side, the other foot. And then you're just gonna let your glutes just gently graze the wall, not a super wide stance. Toes are pointing straight ahead. And then turn the toes that are closest to the block, turn those toes out. And you're gonna bend over, find your base with your hand. Other hand can be on the hip for now as you push off. So again, your hand will be closer to the wall than your standing foot. Align your standing leg kneecap, and then work at opening the top hip. Flex your top foot, toes pointing directly into the room. Other arm stretches up and start to work that top shoulder blade back towards the wall. Breathe here. Really feel how strongly your standing leg is working to keep your knee in alignment, because you don't want to twist at your knee. Span through all four limbs. Feel your breath. And we'll take one more breath right here. And then look down, bend your standing leg and step out. Good. Let's come away from the wall. Do a few more of those little swinging twists. Okay. And then we're going to step back to the wall and come forward with our feet. So you're not going to go into your 100% chair. I want to say 50 to 70% effort. As you lean into the wall, you want your ankles to be more forward than where your knees are. And then we're going to work at drawing the shoulders back and pressing the back of your head towards the wall. And then open your arms out to a T, palms facing into the room. And then we're going to slide the arms up to a V or a Y, and then pull your elbows down. Open to a T, reach up, pull down. And we're just going to do one more. Reach out, reach up, pull down. Good. And then let your arms come down. Now we're going to focus on our shin strength. So I get asked about things that help our knees a lot. One of the things we want to do is keep our quads nice and strong and active, but sometimes our shins get a little lazy. So you're going to lift your whole foot up, coming just onto the heel, and then bring it down. This is also really good if you tend to drag your toe, not lift your toes up. If you're always catching your toes on things when you're walking, chances are you're not engaging your shin muscles a lot. So this is just a good little exercise for that. And it also helps keep your knee nice and stable. I'm just gonna do a few more. Oh, these are hard. Good. And then we're gonna come a little bit wider with our feet. You're still leaning way back into the wall. Feet are more forward. So that if the wall were taken away from you, you'd fall backwards, right? And then we're just going to come into a ragdoll here. So you're going to keep your hips pushing into the wall, knees nice and soft as you hang forward. Take a breath in, let it out. Good. And then use your hands back up to thighs. Push your way back up to standing, and then push yourself away from the wall. All right, as we step away from the wall, we're going to face it, and then inhale, stretch the arms up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, lift up halfway. Exhale, lower down, and then bend your knees. Ease yourself down into your table position, and then come into child's pose. Take a sigh. And then roll your way up. So I mentioned we were going to use a strap and a blanket. So you're going to get those within your reach here. And we're going to be facing the wall. Now, same thing. We're going to come down to keep your strap. We're going to come down to the floor. But you want to be close enough to the wall so that when you push the soles of the feet into the wall, it kind of pushes your body away from the wall. So there's some tension there. You have pressure into the wall with your feet. And then take your strap. So you're going to continue to push into the wall strongly with your one foot as you bring the strap around the ball of the other foot. Yeah. Keep pushing into the wall with your one foot, and then lengthen your other leg up towards the sky. And we're just going to floss in and out of this a little bit. So you're going to move the foot away from your face, and then exhale, bring it towards your face just a few times. Good. Take a breath in. Let it out. And then move your leg out. So strongly push your foot into the wall to open that leg out and try to keep your hips stable. And then bring it up. Move your top foot closer to the wall so you've moved out of your hamstrings. Keep your hips evenly dropping into the floor as you move the leg across. And then come back up, release, and bring that foot back to the wall. So if you felt like you scooched away too far, you can go in a little closer and then push the feet into the wall, and we'll switch to the other side. Stretch the leg up. And then we'll floss it. Inhale, move your foot away from your face, and then exhale, re-stretch it. A couple more times. As you stretch it now, hold there, breathe. And then we're gonna move the leg out to the side. Try to keep your hips stable by really pushing your foot into the wall. And then bring the leg back up, move it closer to the wall. You're gonna turn your toes inward, flex the foot, and then move it across. Keep that hip down towards the floor though. All right, and bring the leg back up, and then we're gonna release. Good. Okay, now we're gonna come up a little bit and then move ourselves a little closer to the wall, but not right up against the wall for now. And we're gonna bring legs up. So we're working our way into a figure 4 pose that's supported by the wall. So you're gonna keep your left leg long. And so if when you come into figure 4, you start to feel like your tailbone and your hips are rolling up, then that means you're too close to the wall. If you don't feel enough, then you want to scooch a little closer. So we're gonna keep the left leg long as we slide the right ankle down to the left thigh. You can give that little press open. And then we're going to start to slide the left foot down the wall so that the wall is what's supporting our legs, and we can relax into this stretch. Now, if you need to adjust closer or farther from the wall, go ahead and do that. If you get here and you're feeling like you just want a little bit more, you can just move that bottom knee a little out. You can heel toe that foot a little out on the wall, and it's just going to take the other leg across slightly, and that will give you a little more intensity if you want it. And you're just going to breathe here. All right, and then go ahead and lengthen the leg, bottom leg up, and then release both legs up. We'll do the other side. Slide the left ankle to the right thigh, give it a little press open by your hip crease. And then we're going to slide the right foot down the wall. Flex your left foot, it'll help stabilize your knee. If you're feeling the tailbone lifting, you're too close, or your hips start to curl up, you're too close to the wall. And you can always go closer to the wall to feel a little more intensity. And then if you're here and you just want that little bit of extra, the foot that's on the wall, you'll heel toe it a little bit out to the side, and then move the same knee to the side to pull the other leg along with it to get some extra intensity here. And just breathe. Good. And then go ahead and release. Let's give each leg a little shake. And now we're going to come into our final pose. So this is going to be our legs up the wall pose. So you're going to want to go as close to the wall as you can, and then swing your legs up. And then you're going to take, this is optional, but it's kind of nice. You would take your strap. Remember how I said you wanted a loop around your strap with your strap? You would take that loop and bring it around your thigh. And you can kind of play with how wide you want it. But the idea is that the strap holds your legs, and then you're not focusing on keeping your legs from flopping out. Now the strap does that work for you. If you're feeling like you just need a little elevation under your hips, this is where you would take that flat folded blanket, lift the hips up, slide it underneath the hips, and you want it to be high enough on the hips so that your tailbone is kind of hanging off the end towards the wall, and your low back is supported by your blanket. So it's kind of maintaining that natural curve in your low back. You want the tailbone to kind of be dropping down towards the floor. If your hamstrings are a little tighter, to do this, you might have to have your hips a little further away from the wall. And then take a few breaths. Arms are opened out, palms are facing up. Let your shoulders relax. Back of the neck is long, and give yourself some sighs. If you don't like the blanket, you don't have to use it. If you don't like the strap, you don't have to use it. And if having legs up the wall feels too intense, feel free to just lie down flat on the floor. Legs up the wall is a great pose for our lymphatic system and the circulation of the lower extremities. Really good for varicose veins. It's also a really nice pose to get you kind of mentally set up and energetically set up before you go to bed at night. A gentle, safe inversion for everyone. Let your breath start to soften and deepen. Feeling your hips relaxing towards the floor. And breathe into your belly. Let it go. Breathe in belly, low ribs. Let it go. Breathe in belly, ribs, upper chest, your biggest breath you can take. And let it go. And then as you start to bring movement back into your body, if your legs are still up the wall, you can start to bend the knees in towards your chest. If you still have your strap around your legs, you can slide that off and set it off to the side. And then maybe do a little rocking or whatever feels good there. Coming onto your side, you might have to squiggle or scooch yourself a little further away from the wall to make that comfortable. Once you come onto your side, move through another sigh. And then gently bringing yourself up into your seated position. And after you've come up to seated, bringing the arms down by your sides. Inhale, sweep arms all the way up. Exhale, hands together to your heart. And we'll close with one Om. Exhale. Inhale. Om. As you finish your Om, bow your head towards your heart center. Thank yourself for doing something a little different today. And I thank you for your sense of adventure. Namaste.